So if we discuss about the election commission, we can say that the first change in the election commission was happened during the Rajiv Gandhi government. Initially, there was only the one election commissioner, but later they are changed to the 5 election commissioner during the Rajiv Gandhi government. After that, in the Morarji Desai government, as well as the other leaders' government, the number of the election commissioners keep changing. And now they are the one chief election commissioner and the 2 election commissioners are there. So if we see the trends from the last 1 and 2 years, even not a single election commissioner completed its 6-year term that was given in its act. There is no they are leaving after the 6 months, leaving after the 9 months or the 1 year. Even in the recent Supreme Court judgment, like in 3-4 months, the Supreme Court gave the 3-4 judgments there. Why the election commissioners are not completing their terms, or some of the other issue related to the, we can say, election results, or we can say the announcement of the election, why there is a disparity between the announcement of the elections. So these are the issue highlighted by the Supreme Court. So this is the result of the PIL filed in the 2019 by a leader regarding to the election commissioner, why they are not completing their terms. So yesterday, the Supreme Court gave the judgment there. They settled a committee, constitution committee, for the selection of election commissioner, we can say. So it will consist of 1, the Chief Justice of India, leader of opposition, plus the Prime Minister. So these 3 will be the members here. Leader of opposition, Prime Ministers, and the Chief Justice of India. So we can see the entry of the judiciary in the selection of the Chief Election Commissioner and the Election Commissioner. So it's become a game changing in the upcoming elections. So we can say there is less influence of the party which are in the power in the elections. So that's the major steps taken by the Supreme Court. That it's a part of the judicial overreach in the executive. Yeah, we can say it's a part of the judiciary is entering into the executive domains, and they are we can say it's an example of the judicial overreach also. So we will discuss the type by type. What is the election commissioner? What is the different type of the articles under the election commission? What are the different functions the election commission performs there? This was a judgment. A 5 constitution bench of the Supreme Court ruled out that the Prime Ministers of India, leader of the opposition, and the Chief Justice of India must pick the Chief Election Commissioner and the Election Commissioner of a country. Election Commission is a constitutional body, we can say. Yes. Under the Article 324 to 329, all are covered for the Election Commission. So the Article 324 to 329 under the Part 15 of the Indian Constitution, and the Article 324 of the Constitution vests the superintendence, directions, and the control of the election by the Election Commission of India for the state and the legislative elections. And the Chief Election Commissioner is appointed by the President. After the recommendation, initially, after the recommendation from the central governments, they are appointed by the President. And the removal of the Election Commissioner is according to as the judge of the Supreme Court or the High Court. It's only for the committee suggested for only for the a Chief Election Commissioner and the Election Commissioner at the national level. For the State Election Commissioner, because the State Election Commissioner are appointed on the recommendation of the Chief Election Commissioner. So that is the same. अभी सेम है, but this is the final decision given by the CEC. लेकिन अभी तक final draft नहीं आया है judgment का. This is they yesterday mentioned in their news there. So appointment and the tenure of the commissioner. So we see the tenure of the commissioner is 6 years. Even it's for the Chief Election Commission or the Election Commission, the time period is given the 6 years. But from the recent incident, we can say none of the Election Commission is completing the 6 years. They are resigning even after the 1 year, 2 years, or within the 6 months. So this is the issue raised in the Supreme Court by some of the PIL filer, PIL public interest litigation filers. So the Supreme Court gave their decision regarding the appointment of the Chief Election Commissioner. No, so 6 years is not mentioned in the Constitution. Tenure is not mentioned in the Constitution for the Election Commissioner. They enjoy the same status, same salary, same perk as per the Supreme Court judges. The same salary and the same perk as given to the Supreme Court judge, the same will be given to the Chief Election Commissioner and the Election Commissioner. So we can say these are equivalent to the Supreme Court judge in the case of the salary, in the case of the perk, and in the case of the any other conditions there. If there is a removal of these commissioner or the Chief Election Commissioner, then accordingly to the removal of the Supreme Court judge, means like in the house, from the parliament they can be removed, but the appointment is through the president. And the nomination now, we can say the suggestion by the committee, initially the suggestion by the executive, the prime minister itself, that to the council of ministers by the to the president, but now it's by only a specific committee that will constitute the prime ministers, leader of opposition, and the chief justice of India. So this is the major change here. How it can be removed? At any time they can be like resigned from their post. Like in the recent time, we are seeing they are resigned from the like 5-6 months, 1 year, 2 years. But if they want to remove, they can be removed similar to that of a Supreme Court judge. जैसे Supreme Court judge को निकाला जाता है, in the same case, they can be removed from the like their post. Anybody can tell about the how the Supreme Court judge can be removed? There is a minimum requirement of the legislator that should be completed in the Lok Sabha or the Rajya Sabha if we are putting for a like a removal of a judge, the Supreme Court judge. So specific condition mentioned on it should be the minimum percentage of the legislator is required to file the resolution. If there is a resolution passed by the first house, then it goes to the second house, and then there will be voting regarding it, and the special majority is required for it for the removal of the Supreme Court judge. The similar in the case of the Chief Election Commissioner is required here. Limitation. What are the limitation? Because there is no qualification is mentioned for in the constitution for the election of the Chief Election Commissioner. So there is a like a hamesha disparity that they are choosing a person which is their favorite of the government. It's even the Congress government or even the BJP government, because they always choose that person which is their favorite and work according to their like जो भी conditions होगी that work according to the legislative party के according ही काम करते थे. So this is the one of the limitation. It is not mentioned about the legal, educational, and administrative, judicially issue में कहीं पे भी mention नहीं किया. Even we can say the ECI is a constitutional body, but the qualification is not mentioned here. Yesterday we see the Aadhaar is a statutory body, but the qualification for the CEO is mentioned here. So similarly, there is a qualification is required for the Chief Election Commissioner, but it is not mentioned in the Constitution. And the Constitution has not debarred the retiring election commissioner from any further appointment by the government. This is the another major issue here. If any election commissioner work according to the government, then he will get later a very good post from the government, because he is not debarred from any other position in the government. So we can say their decision can be the biased one. Their decision can be biased according to the government. So this is also the major issue why they are allowed to work with the government after their retirement. So this is also the major issue that need to be addressed in the future time. So next, these are the articles. These are some of the articles which is related to the Election Commission. You need to specify each of the article because this topic has become very important. Even in the 2022, there is a direct question in the mains examination about the model code of the conduct and the role of the Election Commission in that. So even in the prelims, even in the mains, this topic is very important now. Article number 324. It gives the directions and the control of the election to be vested in the Election Commission, even if the state legislative elections or it's the central election. Both are by the Election Commission of India. For the Panchayat election that will be conducted by the State Election Commissioner. So it should be remembered, the state election is also conducted by the Chief Election Commissioner or Election Commission of India, not by the State Election Commission. Article number 325. No person to be ineligible for the inclusion on basis of the religion, race, caste, sex. No person can be included without the completion of fulfill of the condition of the inclusion in the voter list. So that should be clearly mentioned in the Constitution. So it can be the statement here. On the basis of the religion, race, caste, sex, and date of birth, there can be reservation for the inclusion in the voter list. That is not mentioned here. You cannot include any person on the basis of the religion, race, caste, and sex in the voter list. Then article number 326 is saying election to the House of the People and the Legislative Assembly of the states be on the basis of the adult suffrage. Means there is a specific age limit is defined by the government. After the 18 year of age, you can vote for the elections. So all those persons which are above the 18 year of the age and having the valid voter ID card, they can vote for the state assembly election as well as the central elections. So that be according to the adult suffrage that is determined according time to time change hota rehta hai. Then according to the article 327, Parliament can make a law related to the election commissioner or the election to the legislature. Power of the Parliament to make a provision related to the elections for the state elections as well as the central elections. Power of legislature to make a state to make provisions and bar to interference by the counts in the election commissioner. Article number 329 say there is a cannot be the any interference, bar of interference by the courts. Courts interfere nahi kar sakte election commission ke kaam mein and the elections ke results mein. That is the power of the election commission of India. Okay. So these are some of the specific articles. So you need to know 324, what is under the 324, what is under 325. If you are attempting a state PCS examination, these articles become the very important because they are giving directly the number of the articles. The article 325 is related to. Article 326 is related to. So you should be remember some of the important article there. So it can be easily, if you know this is mentioned in the article 325 about the religion, race, caste, you can directly mark within the seconds. So it will not take your time and the accuracy will be the 100% there. So these are some of the power of the Election Commission of India. So what's the Election Commission? Kya kya kaam karta hai Election Commission? These are the power here. Division of the constituency. We see the delimitation commission that have changed the constituencies according to the population of that state specifically. Preparing of the date list of all the valid voters, under which RP Act it is mentioned. Not article, under which RP Act it is mentioned. It's 1950 or 1951? It's in under the 1950. Representation of People Act 1950 is mentioned related to the preparing of the date list. मतलब voter list को जो ready करते हैं. Notify dates and the schedule of the election. Election Commission will notify the dates and the schedule of the election, and on the announcement of the date of the election, the model code of the conduct will be started there. So model code of conduct start हो जाता है on the day of the announcement there. Preparing of the date list to all the valid voters. Declare the election results by the election commissioner. Fix and limit the election expenses. There are some specific limits given for the Lok Sabha. Like the 70 lakhs you can spend for the Lok Sabha election. 45 lakhs you can spend for the state election. That's a limit provided by the election commissioner for the spending in the state assembly election and the Lok Sabha election. Scrutiny for the nomination of papers. After the filing of the nomination, they will scrutinize your document. If documents are not eligible, they will cancel your nomination from the elections. Then the settle down a dispute between referred by the president. Also the dispute between the parties, dispute between related to the allocation of the symbols. Like we see in the case of the Shiv Sena, there is allocation of simple dispute that is also resolved by the election commission. So these are some of the major functions that has been done by the election commission of the India. So there is a question that was asked in the 2017. Consider the following statement. Number one, the Election Commission of India is a 5-member body. The Union Ministry of the Home Affairs decide the election schedule for the conduct of the both general election and the by-elections. Election Commission resolve a dispute relating to the split merger of recognition of the political party. So only the third statement is correct here, and this was asked in the UPSC 2017. So you can look if this type of the question can simple question can also be asked in the examination. It's not like every time they will ask a high level of the question. So you should be remember that these are the basic criteria. This is also decided by the Election Commission of India. These are the 3 members body, and this is also the function of the Election Commission of India here. This was the question in the UPSC 2022 in the mains examination. Discuss the role of the Election Commission of India in light of the evolution of the model code of the conduct. Like election by election, there is a change in the model code of the conduct. Now they are talking about the freebies to be entered in the model code of the conduct. But there is an issue with the model code of the conduct. It is not having any legislation backing. It's just the rules like evolved from the time to time. इनका कोई legislation backing नहीं है. So this is required here because until and unless there is a legislation backing, तब तक उसको ये enforce करना बहुत मुश्किल है. If it's make as a act as a model code of conduct act, that can be easily implemented there. So this is a question if you know the role of the Election Commission in the implementation of the model code of the conduct and some of the things about the MCC. This is was a 10-mark question, then you can easily get the 5 marks from this marks of question, and you need to write a direct answer here within the 150 words. So means the clarity should be here, what to be right, what not to be right in the questions there. So let's come to the true and false. Statement number 1. The Constitution has specified the term of the members of the Election Commission. The Constitution had not specified the term of the members of the Election Commission. So the first statement is false here. Second statement. Article 324 operates in the area left unoccupied by legislation, and the words superintendence, directions, and the control as well as the conduct of all the election are the broadest terms that are defined by the Constitution. So this statement is also wrong. These are not defined. Exactly, there is no definition of these terms given in the Constitution. Just the word are defined under the articles. So these are the explanation. The Election Commission is formed under the Election Commission and the Transaction of the Business Act 1991. जिसके अंदर उनको tenures दिया गया, the 6 years. This law essentially govern the condition of the service of the CEC and the Election Commissioner, because it's not mentioned in the Constitution of India regarding the condition of their services. So it's governed under the Election Commissioner and the Transaction of Business Act of 1991. So this act is also become the important, under which act the age and the condition of the service of the Election Commission has been defined. So these are defined under the Election Commissioner and the Transaction of the Business Act of 1991. Similarly, we can say under the Mohinder Singh Gill and the Anna case, the Chief Election Commissioner in the New Delhi 1977 is defined. These words are not defined under the Constitution. So both the statements are incorrect here. So next statement, it's a true or false. Chief Election Commission, a status equal to that of a Supreme Court judge, and his retirement age is the 65 years. Second statement, the Election Commission were given the status of the High Court judge and their retirement age is the 62 years. First statement is correct here. Second is wrong here because the Chief Election Commissioner is equal to the Election Commissioner here. Both are having the 65 years of the age. Both are given as a recognition as a Supreme Court judge. It's not. These are given as a different status in the Morarji Desai government. Like the High Court as a status to the Election Commission and the Chief Election Commission as a status of the Supreme Court judge, but it's later changed. So we can say under the VP Singh government, not the Morarji Desai, it's under the VP Singh government. They built a multi-member body and the EC were given the status of the High Court judge. And the Chief Election Commissioner was given as a status of the Supreme Court judge under the VP Singh government, but it was changed under the Narasimha Rao government. They give the same status for the Chief Election Commissioner and the Election Commissioner, and the age is equal to the 65 years. Now, the suggesting reading for the exam, what are the most important topics that can be asked from the Election Commission? You need to read the Representation of the People Act 1950 in very details. Even the Representation of People Act 1951 and the Model Code of the Conduct. These are the important topics with reference to the Election Commissioner of India. This need to be read in a very depth. Yesterday, we discussed all these topics. So if you want to read, you can see the videos if you're enrolled in the course, or you can take the notes from your friends regarding these acts. Okay. So I hope you understand what you need to read from any particular topics. That is the major idea here. We are just reading the topic and topic. We don't know which type of statement they can frame or which type of statement they can ask. So it should be the clarity which type of the statement can be asked by the examiner when you are reading any topic. इससे क्या होगा ना, आपका जो number of pages है कम हो जाएंगे. You need to be read selectively because these are the most important thing that can be asked here. Because general सबको पता है. इलेक्शन कमीशन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल बॉडी होता है, सबको पता है. स्टेट इलेक्शन कंडक्ट कराता है, नेशनल इलेक्शन कंडक्ट कराता है. उसके साथ टेन्योर एवरीबडी नो कि 65 years है. Some of the words that not mentioned in the constitution that you need to be remembered. Some of the work under the article RP Act of 1950 and 1951. These RPAs are very important. Some of the statements are very important from these Representation of People Acts. That should be clear there. Like yesterday we discussed about the person can fight election from the jail if it's having a jail only for the 2 years. But if having the jail for more than the 6 years, he cannot fight the election there. But after the conviction, he can fight the election completion of the 6 years. Like the conviction date is 2016 here. And he's serving a term of 5 years. So he can fight the election in 2022 after the completion of the 6 years of the conviction. So these type of statement you need to be remember there. ऐसे direct तो नहीं पूछेंगे. They will not give you the direct statement. That statement will be the indirect. So you need to be clarified there. Section are important like the section 8 for the disqualification and the section 29 for the policy. Yes, it's very important. And with it also the recognition of the political party. Recognition of the political party, what are the conditions for the state party, what are the conditions for the national party. That's also the important here.